Welcome to the Bad Ports Top Podcast. I'm your coach, Jason.
Your coach, Danny.
Fans, we got a full show for you today. But first, go ahead and like, subscribe to 100, 500, 5,000 fans that the Bad Ports Top Podcast is here. Danny, a little Formula One, a little Major League Baseball, and maybe a little basketball. But first, Danny, right into some Formula One, in where, I watched this race this past Sunday, and where the race actually happened in Max Verstappen's home. Max did not finish the race, by the way. He got into a wreck in the very first lap. I have some questions to Ferrari. First question is, who's your number one racer? Second question would be, are you trying to sabotage Sir Lewis Hamilton from winning a championship? My third question would be, what kind of conversations do y'all have strategy-wise before a Grand Prix? Those would be my top three questions, because what I saw on Sunday, man, was this an absolute travesty in terms of strategy, in terms of execution of any type of strategy, and in terms of who's your number one racer, i.e., who's your closest racer to the championship race. It just didn't seem like the questions just were not answered. They just don't know. And you could tell the frustration Sir Lewis Hamilton had on the radio with regards to the stops, with regards to wheel strategy, tire strategy, with regards to the racers swapping. I know Sir Lewis Hamilton made a reference to the Mercedes team, how they swapped, and how easy of execution that was versus what they're experiencing. Ferrari's just all over the place. This is my concern. And Sir Lewis Hamilton was right in where he said every single point matters in a championship run. Over the past few races, Ferrari has just lost some championship points. And this is just going to be really interesting, the last 11 races, in terms of how this all shakes out. But this weekend, there was also a sprint included in it. Kimi Antonelli, George Russell scored 23 points, but Lando Norris, who ultimately won the Grand Prix, scored 31 points. Lando now is back into the running of this championship series. So Kimi Antonelli leads with 242 points, followed by a tie between George Russell and Sir Lewis Hamilton at 183. Lando Norris with 159 and Charles Leclerc with 155. Danny, what say you about this previous Grand Prix and about Formula One in general?
Oh, man. Yeah, Sir Lewis Hamilton, man, you hit on everything. It's nothing else to say. If you watch the race, it's unexplainable, and they only can blame themselves if he falls short, which is trending that way right now, man, because his point totals, Antonelli got him, in the actual race by 6. And with him going in the fourth place, or ended up in fourth, and Antonelli in second. Lando Norris, the McLaren team has showed up. Piastri actually was running well in this race. He was like first, second place for a while in this race, and then fell back to 6th at the end. But Lando's now looking like he did last year, and it's obviously taking a long time, but now he's starting to get into a rhythm with this second race in a row he's won. Curious how this now goes from the McLaren standpoint. Does Lando, I think he's too far away to catch Antonelli, but he's going to be pushing on Russell and Sir Lewis Hamilton. They get a break, and then they pick up again in Italy after or right before Labor Day. So we'll see if any adjustments are made, but it's just interesting, Jason, knowing if you go back in our shows and say like 2 months ago before the break, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, his trajectory was like this.
Right there, man.
He was on it.
He was on it.
And Antonelli was winning everything, right?
Yeah.
But Lewis Hamilton started off a little slow, but he was going up. Now it's just like, like the dude on the Price is Right. And he's heading down. And the crazy part was he ended up in fourth of all the stuff we just said. So imagine if things are right where he would be. I'm hoping some discussions are had behind the scenes, and we'll see how they adjust when they go to Italy.
And now, Danny, into a little Major League Baseball where the Brewers, man, they went ahead and win the series against the Braves. That last game was at the Little League World Series. Interesting game nonetheless, but man, what a series by the Milwaukee Brewers to win. And they still remain, what, 6 games ahead of the Chicago Cubs, man. I think the Brewers are putting it together. One stat that still had me just shaking my head, quite honestly, Danny.
Mhm.
Stat that you and I have always talked about. We were hoping that by trade deadline they would do what? Get an arm and get a bat.
Yep.
The stat that I have heard was that the Milwaukee Brewers are last in the entire league in home runs. They're still winning with speed on the base,
Mm-hmm.
putting that pressure onto the opposing team, but no home runs. They're still winning.
Mm-hmm.
They are right now 1 game ahead of the Los Angeles Dodgers, in which case the Dodgers do face off against the Braves in Atlanta. Brewers are only like really 3 games ahead of the Tampa Bay Rays, 5 games ahead of the Braves. I bring up the Tampa Bay Rays because the Brewers are basically the has the best record in baseball right now. My hope is that they continue to get that number 1 seed. But like I said last time we talked together, Danny, listen, man, I don't know how much home field advantage really matters anymore. We witnessed the Brewers have home field advantage in a wild card, in the play-in, or whatever, all to just be thrown out by the wayside, man. We'll see what happens, Danny. What say you about these Milwaukee Brewers?
Jason, great series with the Braves. Miz did his thing on Friday. Logan Henderson, big win on Saturday. It was a little shaky at the beginning. Braves scored that first run, but they didn't score again in that game. And one other thing to add, Jason, to that home run stat is the Brewers' defense has been great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They've made some great plays. Lara out there, man, just doing his thing. So it's been also the defense playing these close games. They get to go to New York now to face the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
Got to win that series. You come home, play the Rangers, and then you got the Cubs for 4 in Chicago. Big series, man, that can turn some things around, man, if they don't play it right. They don't start putting some runs on the board because they also face the Cubs again after they play the Reds. So it's Cubs, Reds, Cubs, where they face the Cubs at home. So 7 left with the Cubs, which obviously can make a difference in the standings. So hopefully win these series, especially the ones you're supposed to win,
Mm-hmm.
and then take care of business when you play the Cubs to keep that lead.
Not only that, the Rangers are battling for a playoff spot. Right now, they're playing 500 ball exactly,
Mm-hmm.
and are only a half game ahead of the Houston Astros in the American League West. So they're battling for the division. So they're going to come in really wanting to go ahead and beat the Brewers, man. So we'll see. Brewers got to go ahead and stick this thing on out. Last, 30 games remaining in the regular season. And now, Danny, and I didn't mention this at the top, but a little NFL preseason. We are a couple of weeks away from the NFL season actually starting. And this past weekend, the preseason game number 2 actually happened. And kudos to the Green Bay Packers for going into Denver and winning 33-13. I saw the first scoring drive by the Green Bay Packers in that game, and Packers got lucky where the turnover that was initially called a turnover was overturned, and they went ahead and scored. I'll just say this, Danny. I think Matthew Golden's going to have a great season. I do. I don't know about Watson. Watson has been injury prone since joining the Packers, man. Hopefully he sticks it out. Hopefully that contract sticks it out too, man. But I think the likes of Matthew Golden and Christian Watson, that combination is going to be interesting. But I really believe Matthew Golden's going to have a big season. The other games of note here, Danny, I would say would be that of the Cleveland Browns. More so, Cleveland Browns making a decision about who's QB1, and that is Deshaun Watson over Shedeur Sanders. And I know this has been a controversial decision for so many reasons. One reason because of Shedeur Sanders dropping into the fifth round, Cleveland Browns selecting him, and then ultimately Shedeur playing with the first teamers late last season, all for it to be kind of taken away with Deshaun Watson coming back. We'll see how this all shakes out. The Browns start the season 2 games on the road. I think that's going to be the marker to see how Deshaun Watson is doing at that point in time, and then probably switch the reins on over to Shedeur Sanders. What say you, Danny, about the NFL preseason?
Jason, as far as the Shedeur Sanders, Deshaun Watson bit, it was interesting because as bad as Deshaun Watson played on Saturday, 5 for 12 with a pick, and then the comments he made, burning all kinds of bridges with the fan base at least.
And he's a sense has apologized.
Yes, I was gonna say. So he walked. They made sure that he walked that back. What he was mentioning on Saturday, but it's a new system, and Monken must feel a little more comfortable with Deshaun Watson versus Shedeur as far as grasping the offense. But it wasn't like Deshaun Watson showed well in preseason. So I don't know what else is going on, if it's a push from ownership with that contract and Deshaun, still owed that money. Get him out there and then see what happens. But so we'll see what those first 2 games look like for them, and if Shedeur is opening the home opener, because they don't have easy games either. They play Jacksonville and Tampa Bay on the road, so those aren't 2 easy games. Falcons, Michael Penix has been cleared to come back, so now that stirs up a quarterback controversy as far as between him and Tua. Can he be ready for the opener? And that's a decision that Stefanski has to make. So curious to see how this works now that he's back and fully healthy. They did beat up on the Colts in preseason with Strand having a great game. Cooper Rush had a good game too from a quarterback perspective. So now, Jason, you get week 3 coming up and you're managing injuries. You had Ashton Genty have an injury. Looks like an ankle, but they're kind of quiet on what's going on there. Jamar Chase got hurt today. But it sounds like he may, it may not be, is not significant. Kenneth Walker got the bag from the Chiefs. He has a foot injury, it sounds like. So that's where now this last game is just going to be for the Cats trying to make the team. But what's going to be the status of a lot of these players going into game 1 as they open up in like almost, was that 2 weeks on that Wednesday, the 9th? So it's right around the corner. So they don't have a lot of time to recuperate if they're major injuries.
And then just a real quick note here. Klay Thompson in the NBA has been bought out by the Dallas Mavericks and now is signing or has signed with the Miami Heat. This is an interesting move, a very intriguing move to see. Got to give some kudos to Klay Thompson, man, because when he went to Dallas, the thought was Luka was going to be there. The thought was there was going to be a run with the championship, especially with Kyrie in the mix, and neither has happened because of the injuries, because of the trade of Luka. And so that left Klay just kind of sitting there, participating in a rebuild. And so he goes to Miami where he can stretch the floor. We'll see how much he has left in the tank, but he can stretch the floor. Makes 2-3 3-pointers per game. So there's opportunities there. We'll see. I think the Miami Heat, they need a new or another person who can stretch the floor. They need another shooter. I don't quite think it gets them really still competing with the Knicks or with the 76ers as currently constructed, barring major injuries. But I do think this puts the Miami Heat in the top 4, maybe in the top 5 in the conference.
Okay.
Because to me, you still have the Knicks. You're going to have the 76ers. I think Detroit has fallen off a little bit. I think Cleveland has fallen off a little bit. I'm not a fan of Boston. So you tell me who else fits in that mold.
Charlotte, Indiana, maybe.
I can see Indiana possibly being in the mix there.
Atlanta, maybe.
Yeah, to me, it puts Miami in the competitive position where in years past they've just gotten into the play-in and done whatever from there. I think they'll make the playoffs, barring major injuries here. What say you, Danny, about this Klay Thompson signing?
I think it was a no-brainer for Miami. You need shooting because they are void of it, especially with Hero getting moved to Milwaukee because that was one of their three-point shooters or just shooters in general. And I think, too, the other thing with Klay is even though, he's older, with Giannis, Wiggins, and Bam being behind him from a defensive perspective, he's a defensive liability, but it's not as bad when you have them protecting you. So then he can just sit out there and focus on hitting those threes. I'm assuming Miami has more moves to make to fill out the roster. More to come. But, yeah, I thought it was a no-brainer move.
Thank you for joining us at Back Porch Talk Podcast. You can also join us on Twitter by tweeting us at @back_podcast. For more information, you can go to our website, which is backporchtalkpodcast.com. You can also email us at backporchtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Again, thank you for joining us, and remember that there's enough hate in the world, so go ahead and spread a little love.